I think we're live. Hi, Josh. Welcome to Venture with Grace.
Thanks, Grace. Great to be here.
Okay, so to start the show, I want to give a quick shout out to our amazing sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Verivend. If you're a GP or LP looking to simplifying the capital raising and deployment process, Verivend is here to help. Trusted by over 800 funds managing more than $2 billion in transactions, Verivend offers a secure, streamlined payment platform designed specifically for private capital markets. Say goodbye to manual reconciliation and repeat follow-ups. Raise and deploy capital faster with greater transparency. Ready to make your fund operations smoother? Visit Verivend.com and see how easy it can be. Use Verivend, guys. Just use Verivend. Okay, anyway, to start the show, I would love for the audience to learn more about you. Okay, so you were a CPA, and like, why don't we talk about, like, how do you kind of like started your own business, and then now you're a famous creator on LinkedIn in the CFO space. Maybe you could give us a little bit more of like insights on like the core lessons transforming yourself from a CPA to a founder and creator.
Sure. Well, I had a bit of a roundabout journey with my career. I graduated with a master's in accounting and got my CPA license and started off where most accountants dream, at a Big Four accounting firm. And I did that for about 2 years. I was working in their global banking divisions, focusing on taxes for these gigantic banks. And I didn't really notice at the time, but I didn't really enjoy the work. I wasn't really too good with it. And it was kind of a mutual decision. They weighed me off and I wasn't really too happy. So I thought that I had chosen the wrong career and I wasn't destined to be an accountant. And I started my very first company right from that experience. I loved the experience of being an entrepreneur. I learned so much, but there were a lot of hard lessons that I needed to learn as a first-time founder. And after 2 years, we admitted defeat. So I wasn't sure what to do at that point. I then got involved in consulting and working directly with startups. And 6 years ago is when we officially opened up our firm, Mighty Digits. And now here we are today.
Totally. Okay, I have a question for you. So did you start to create content just in like 2023?
I think it was like April of 2022 or so is when I first started posting every day on LinkedIn.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so why don't we talk about, like, I feel like you have built such a strong brand on LinkedIn and then about your firm. So now you have actually, can I say this on the pod? Like, you have 3 different sub division for your business.
For sure, yeah.
I feel like this is like where the creator economy slash, yesterday I was chatting with the CEO of Medium. So basically he was saying this is called, so he pro the expert economy. So basically you don't monetize on the content itself, but you monetize based off your expertise. And I feel like you are both that in the expert and creator economy space, because you have 3 sub business. There's like the Mighty Digits, which is your actual like business that actually help people do that content, and then there's like the middle part, which is like your creative business that you obviously did like pretty amazingly, and then there's like the third pillar, which is like the actual software that you're creating. Maybe if you could walk us through, like, when you first started creating content. I think we have chatted about this before, but like, how do you categorize your journey as like 3 different steps? So first of all, when you started the content creation journey, like a lot of people say crossing the chasm of the cringe or something. So like at the beginning, how do you mentally prepare yourself on that? And then the middle part would be like, I guess, like, actually you found product market fit on like, your own content, and or like you found your own audience space, and like in the last part, which is like kind of scaling, like how you kind of like start growing fast. Maybe you could start like telling us more about, like, what are some, I guess, core takeaways from like each of these like steps.
Sure. Well, like you mentioned, and I'll just clarify, the 3 businesses, I have Mighty Digits, which is our accounting firm. That's what I started 6 years ago. And that's where everything initially was under that umbrella. And right from day one, I had this dream of being able to put myself out of work and automating myself with technology, which is what then created our SaaS tool, our Excel add-in Model Wiz, where you could generate financial models with QuickBooks Online data with just one click. And as I thought to myself, okay, how can I drive more awareness to our accounting firm? I started posting on LinkedIn really with just that intention, wanting to eventually reach CEOs, founders, companies who are interested in scaling, and they didn't want to focus on the finance and accounting themselves. So I did that for about 6 months or so, and I didn't really get any traction. I had difficulty understanding what was my messaging, who exactly I was serving, how to really package the advice that I had to really offer. And about 6 months in, I started following another creator, and he was also sharing thought leadership content, but it was from a very different angle. He was sharing thought leadership for the sake of teaching what he knew to other professionals in his actual space. So I was initially going after startup CEOs and trying to, get them excited about finance and accounting. But as I'm sure you can imagine, Grace, startup CEOs don't really care so much about finance and accounting. It was only when I changed my messaging to instead target other finance and accounting professionals that things really started to take off. And I felt like I had now my audience and messaging. And maybe about like 6 months after that period, so about a year after I started posting, I realized to myself, okay, this in and of itself is a separate brand, which is what created the birth of Your CFO Guy.
Wait, I have a question on the changing of the messaging. So like that's so interesting because I feel like the psych shift is like very important to like understand why people follow you. And like because I think for like that basically means like I have to target like I guess like other podcasters or like media professionals, or like how do you position yourself as like the expert? Because I don't really want to call myself an expert in that category. So I think like compared to like a normal people's knowledge graph, like I think I have more knowledge in the startup and VC space. But compared to the startup and VC people, I don't know. You have like, I mean, at this point, after chatting with 400 people, I should have more knowledge in that space than any professional. But I just want to say, like, I feel like it's really hard to actually teach something that people don't know in your own space, right? Or like, how do you kind of like adjust the mindset shift, or like I guess like the content positioning?
So I think this is something that creators oftentimes struggle with. And again, it's like finding your voice and understanding who exactly is your audience and those who resonate the most. And you don't have to figure that out from day one. I suggest, similar to my path, you just continue publishing every day, see what sticks, and just keep tweaking that message until you kind of find what works. But to me, I think thought leadership is all about sharing your expertise in a specific subject, which means you're going to be attracting people who are also working in that related field, who are also trying to potentially teach that related subject, who are trying to grow and break into that field. So in your case specifically, I think VC and startups is a great subject to be a subject matter expert in. And you could attract investors, you can attract startups and founders and VCs and all of that. At the same time, you've also developed a lot of experience with podcasting. And it's up to you to really decide which angle you want to go at. Do you want to be known instead for how to scale a podcast, how to grow a podcast, and have all these amazing guests that you've had on in the past? Really, I could see both of these paths working for you.
I actually feel like, dude, you talk like an instructor, like on your YouTube channel, love. Okay, so it's very professional. I have a question for you. So like basically I think like your content is very, I guess, like dominant by like the amazing graphics, and then there's a lot of like insights on like how do you use Excel, or like, these like a lot of like, I guess like CFO suite related products, or like just like how do you do XYZ in the CFO space? Is that equivalent of like technical skill? Like how do you evaluate a company? How do you do market mapping? Or like what does that entail? Like for, like why would people actually follow the content if they're already a CPA or CFO? Like shouldn't they already know how to use Excel? Like I'm sorry, but like shouldn't they already know? But how do you think about that?
It's a great question. And this was something that I also struggled with initially. Like, how beginner, intermediate, or advanced should my content actually be as I'm sharing with others? And yes, there is an aspect that if you're trying to share thought leadership content and you're trying to attract CFOs, do you really want to be posting beginner fundamental information? And here's my stance on that. First, CFOs still love seeing beginner information for a number of reasons. It could be a beginner for something that's still nuanced to an area that they themselves don't specialize in. So for example, me posting something about SaaS metrics that every CFO should know, if someone was specialized in working with SaaS startups, this is something that they learn in their first week working on the job. If someone is primarily working with CPG, well, that could still be beginner content for them. But even if that is very much something they're familiar with, people resonate with things that they're familiar with, and they'll be interested in following and hearing what you have to say when they see that you're posting something related to their actual domain expertise. But one of the biggest learnings for me is the fact that people oftentimes, especially senior people, have a whole team of staff, and their goal is to elevate that staff, to continue getting that staff to be as capable as possible so they could focus on the bigger picture stuff. So when you share beginner content, you're now giving them a library of content to, in essence, help train their actual staff. So I think for those 3 reasons, I really would encourage someone to still post beginner level content, but it's a mix. Generally, I think of it as like a funnel. The more beginner and the more broad your content, the larger of a reach that you're going to get, but the less of maybe a specialization or targeted ICP you're going to be able to reach. And that's okay. Other posts, I think, should be just the expert level content where only the top 5% of the people in the field can really understand or actually gravitate towards that. And if you're trying to sell something, if you're trying to drive some sort of actual call to action, it'll be a lot more relevant for those people. So I think it's a balance and you really need both.
I wonder, so like, I guess like, wouldn't that confuse the algo / the audience? By the way, hi, Essence. Okay, I just want to shout out to anyone who comments. So I wonder, how do you think about like, I guess like the building the audience in like a subcategory? So like, I mean, as you mentioned, there's like the beginners and then there's like the experts. And then I've seen people posting about the random startup memes, startup advice, like just a general advice for like, I don't really know like who these are for. Obviously, those are like doing well, but like in the actual VC community, there's always like a thought leader that posts, let's call it like Gary Tan or something. Like, you know, they post something super sophisticated or like startup, like AI related trends. And then there's also like the people who are like focusing on the niche of the niche. Let's say they only post like LP content. There's like only like, I don't know, 5 LP in the world, not 5, but like 300. So, how do you think about in these like domains? I feel like it's really hard to like, I mean, obviously you can post anything and everything, but like the problem of like you catching a dedicated audience, I would assume it's really hard just because like, oh, the startup community, like the randos just see, oh, okay, so the beginner, I'll follow you for the beginner stuff. And then the next day you post something super sophisticated, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's enough. And then, or the experts see you post like, oh, okay, I know this like since like, I know kindergarten. So like, why are you posting whatever this is? So how do you, and then like, how do you kind of like balance like the content level versus like your audience, like kind of like adjustment or like audience graph shape?
It makes a lot of sense. To me, the more important distinction is who are you talking to as opposed to what is the level of expertise and familiarity of who you're talking to. So for example, if I post something related to finance and accounting one day, and then tomorrow I post something related to sales or engineering, my audience is going to be very confused, and most likely I won't have a consistent messaging that they're able to resonate with, which means I won't be able to build a following. And when you're building a following, you don't want one person to just see it and like it and it goes viral. You want people to continuously come back to your actual content multiple times and really build that following of people who religiously are keeping track of everything that you're posting. So to me, what you post about is a lot more important than the actual expertise level of what you post about. In terms of the expertise level, again, I think that there is still a lot of benefit in posting the beginner level stuff, even to those who are intermediate and advanced for all the things that I mentioned. But I also think it depends on really where you are in your journey. So I had a great mentor who I actually had as a coach, Nicholas Boucher. If you're familiar, or anyone who's watching is familiar. Yeah, huge guy. I suggest that you follow him. He's really big.
Only 1 million followers.
Yeah, that's right. Over 1 million followers. So I was trained by one of the best. And the way he broke it down, I still think about all the time. In the early stages where you're posting content, you can have the most incredible advice, the most stunning visuals in the world. But if your microphone is not on, no one is going to hear you. No one is really going to be able to get that actual message. So you need to be able to build what I like to call the megaphone early on. You need to be able to have broad enough materials that still is in the vicinity of your actual domain. But ideally, you're sharing a lot of beginner level content as well as a mix of other areas to be able to build that initial following. And the larger that you have that initial following, once you cross that chasm of, let's say, about 20,000 followers, at least on LinkedIn specifically, now whenever you post, a lot of people by default are going to start seeing it. They're going to start engaging with it. Everyone else in their network is going to start seeing it. And you have this viral component to it. I think after you cross that chasm of around 20,000 followers, that to me is when I would focus a lot more on the expertise, a lot more on the niche content, depending again on what your call to action is.
What's a call to action? I'm literally taking notes. Okay, so I think you also did like, I mean, can I say this on the show? Like just masterminds and stuff, or is this illegal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it illegal?
No, go for it.
I'm sorry. So okay, so let's say like when you do like the mastermind course from like, let's say another person coming from like a different platform, they have like a big following on, let's call it X or like YouTube or something. Like, how do they transition into a LinkedIn? Because a lot of people are, even yesterday at like the VC event, I was like getting asked a lot about it. Like other people are like, oh, how do I build a following on LinkedIn? Like, how do you reach X amount of follower? I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like, I mean, I shouldn't say bro on my show, but like, but how do you actually formulate it into something? Because I think a lot of it is just like posting every day and then you kind of see a tiny trend on something and then you double down on the trend. But I actually feel like my growth is more towards like this than like the like, so basically it's like slowly going up than like go up and that like one day. Though I did have like viral video this year, so I'm like very thankful for that. But I actually feel like the growth was not like your growth. I feel like your growth is like, oh, the next day you literally 10x your audience yesterday. How do you think about that kind of level of growth on LinkedIn?
So I think with any platform that you're growing on, the best curve in terms of the actual subscribers that you're adding looks something like this, where it's going like that. Then you have a spike. Then it goes like that. Then you have a spike and all that. So
really?
You'll definitely have these like pockets of virality that'll get you in front of a lot of people. But again, the idea is that you can't just bank on that. You want to have a consistent brand and message that people continue coming back off of. But it's very common that like it's not going to be a linear growth. You'll have a lot of your followers come in at certain points where posts really resonate with them. In terms of the advice for what I would tell someone if they want to grow on LinkedIn with their voice, I think every platform is different and you really need to understand like how that platform works and what the users go to that platform for. So for example, YouTube, it's all about long form video. They do have shorts, but I think it's nowhere near as popular as the long form video. The content is pretty much evergreen. People can refer back to it as much as you want. And on X, on the other hand, it's a very different setup where the content is kind of like, it'll go out there and, within a few hours, if not a few days, the information for the most part will be lost in the void. And some people may be posting videos and graphics on X, but I think threads are a lot more popular, for example, on X. For LinkedIn, what I have found, at least as of today, there are a few things that are different about the platform compared to other platforms. First and foremost, it still very much operates via like a social web. So if you engage with my post, odds are people who follow you, people who are your connections, people who are in your audience are going to see that you had some sort of activity with my post. You probably see that all the time whenever you look at your home feed. Someone else commented, someone else reposted or something, and that's how it gets brought to you. I don't really believe that like YouTube in any way works like that. It's just you post it out and subscribers kind of see it. And
so it's like not like a social thing.
I don't think it's as socially based with YouTube. Whereas LinkedIn, I think it still is very much a social platform. I think similarly with LinkedIn, what I have found really works the best, again, is these infographics where when I'm teaching something, instead of just including text, the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words, well, an infographic is worth 1,000 ideas. When you could really illustrate, ideally, a complex topic in a fun and engaging and simple to understand way, where someone who's just scrolling through their feed or in the TikTok age comes across it and says, oh, these colors look nice. What's this topic about? Oh, I'm interested in that topic. Oh, this actually looks pretty cool. They start zooming in and everything. That to me, I have found is one of the strongest ways really to build an audience specifically on LinkedIn.
I have questions on that because I feel like you're the OG on doing the infographics, just because I don't see anyone else do that, like in other spaces in general. I think there were in like 2 years ago, the popular thing is like you upload a PDF, then people just like read the PDF. But I feel like that trend is kind of gone. Like I don't really see that much. Now I see a bunch of shorts. And how do you adjust what works well? Like, do you do shorts too, or is that considered as a piece of shorts because your motion graphics is actually graphic, like it's like motion graphics, like they actually move?
We do shorts a little as well. It's not really something we've leaned into too much. I have met a bunch of creators. Just a few weeks ago, I was at a YouTube meetup and I met a really big ice cream channel. People probably even know him. I forgot his exact name. And he had, I think,
The
5.
ice cream guy?
Yeah, there we go. That's him. Yeah. And he was telling me that, his shorts in many ways, like he's a one-man team. He really just records them within 30 minutes. He's able to publish that. He has over 5 million followers on YouTube. I think over 10 million on TikTok. So for him, shorts work incredibly well. For me, we have had a few shorts like go viral on TikTok, some that have done okay really on YouTube, but we haven't really leaned into it too much. I don't know if our audience resonates as much with it because at least in my niche, I'm educating people on fairly complex information, how to set up a specific structure in your Excel file, or how to create a financial model that allows you to present information to investors. It can work for a short, but I don't know. I'm not as optimistic for our specific niche.
I wonder, so like I guess another question on that is like, how do you build, I guess like in the CFO space, there is a content, there is a CFO, there is the fractional CFO, there is like a person does their own accounting, right? Like, so how do you structure the content? Like, do you structure content every day? It's like the beginner and then the expertise and then the beginner and then the expertise, or like how do you kind of like think about targeting your ideal audience? And when I guess like when the CFOs, or like when you're trying to reach like more senior leaders, like is there any specific type of content that you're excited about? And I'm sure like literally after I post about like our thing yesterday, there is like Fortune 500 CFOs like just like followed because of like they probably see your content everywhere. And like how do you think about um those more senior leaders? Like how should they build a brand on LinkedIn? Obviously not everyone will have like 500K following, but in general, like how do you think about like a regular person if they just want to build some sort of like thought leadership on LinkedIn? Like what's your best suggestion for them?
My biggest suggestion, and this is
Obviously everything blew up. Sorry guys. Oh, okay. Hi LinkedIn user, hi LinkedIn user, hi LinkedIn users, hi David. We'll address your question. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
no worries. I think this is going to be really boring advice and something people probably hear all the time. The most important thing is you're just going out there and you're doing it. I think the heart of entrepreneurship, which in many ways, this is an entrepreneurial journey, right? You're not like taking advice where someone's telling you post this and maybe you're working for someone else, but if it's your own content, you got to kind of figure this out yourself. To me, the heart of entrepreneurship is you hypothesize something, you put out a test, you study the results of those tests, you make a small tweak, and you just repeat that cycle infinity. And you just ideally keep getting better and better. So first advice, anyone who's looking to actually build an audience, you got to just start posting. Don't overthink it. Don't worry. It doesn't need to be perfect. I still cringe when I look at some of my early day content, but that's part of the journey. So I think that's number one. Number two is, again, you really need to understand who is the audience that you're serving, and don't make the mistake that I made where you think it's your end customer, but in reality, it's other thought leaders or other professionals who are in the actual space that you are in particularly. I think on top of that, you probably want to also think about like what your call to action is, right? Because it's great to have an audience, but if you're really not making any money from it and you're spending money every single day, as a saying, like saying cash, right? So you got to think to yourself, am I going to be selling digital products? Am I going to be creating a community? Am I going to be doing sponsorships? Am I going to be doing high ticket coaching or cohort programs? 1,000,001 ways that you could actually monetize as a creator. it's important not necessarily from day one to figure that out, but think about how you want that to actually materialize. And then from there, you could think about, well, who do I need to reach? What is the actual messaging that I need to share? Maybe as you build the audience more and more, you start layering in more calls to action specifically for the niche that you're trying to target. So that is like how I see the evolution of like going from 0 to 20,000 followers and beyond.
Totally. Okay, so what about the funnel design? Like, so are you, so like, since I know you also have a newsletter, you also have like, people asking you stuff in the comments. Like, I've seen, well, in my niche, like a lot of people just post like, okay, here's like the 100 VC and climate tag. Like, if you comment, I'll send this to your inbox. So do you feel like these like lead magnet actually works, or like how do you do it like more tastefully instead of just be like, okay, if you comment, I'll like give you this?
So there's a concept that I once came across from a coach. His name is James Schramko. Great guy, and he was very instrumental for me in my journey. And he calls it own the racetrack. And you can, I need to think about how exactly he put it. Like he was saying, you can bet on a horse and maybe one day that horse will win, maybe that horse won't win, but you're subject to the owner of the actual racetrack. If you own the racetrack itself, well, then you control all of the ticket sales and all of the betting. And he was likening that specifically to posting social media. It's great going viral on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, all these other platforms, but in just 1 second, your account can get banned. You can get shadow banned. You can all of a sudden no longer be relevant in your audience and not get in front of those people. You need a way where you could reach those people on your own terms, quote unquote, owning the racetrack. So it's very important that you do start building an actual newsletter. And our newsletter is a little unique. We have a different topic every day of the week. It's pretty much every day. On Mondays, we do accounting, Tuesday, FP&A, Wednesday, Excel, and then Friday is like productivity. And
my nightmare newsletter. I'll keep going. Sorry. No, everyone should subscribe. Everyone.
There are a number of ways that you can get people to want to hear you outside of the actual platform. You could, of course, just have a newsletter opt-in page. Hey, if you enjoyed this, check out my newsletter over here, and people will be able to download. For us, the most effective way has been offering lead magnets, where we'll maybe show, for instance, an Excel dashboard, because we do a lot of strategic finance and Excel content. Check out this dashboard. You can get it entirely for free in the next 48 hours. Just come to this landing page, give us your email, and we'll send it to you. Then we warm the people up. Hey, you're on our newsletter. This is the content we'll be sharing. Unsubscribe at any time. And that's generally how we've been able to grow our newsletter.
Okay. So what would be on the lead magnet? Is that just like you mentioned Excel content, or like, is this like, oh, here's like 5 ways that you could improve your Excel efficiency. Here's like 3 key things that you should like tab, or like what's the whole vibe?
Well, it could be really anything. The key is something that causes the user to want to download something that you have to offer them. So for us, again, the most common has been Excel templates, but every single infographic that we post has a link where you can download the infographic entirely for free on our website. We've done also guides where we'll share, let's say, the first 3 pages of the guide, and then we'll say, hey, if you want to get the whole 30-page guide, just come to our website and download the quote unquote ebook in order to get that. I feel like there are a bunch of other ways that we've done it as well. You can take someone to like a gated page with like a video that they could only access after they provide their email. It could even be like a sign-up form for like a program that you're going to be hosting. Really, there are 1,000,001 ways. Another really big way is also the creator network. So we use Kit, which is easily one of the most popular email service providers for creators. And I have a lot of other fellow creators who post finance and accounting, thought leadership content. And a lot of my email subscribers has also come from the creator network via referrals.
Creator network via referrals. Like, yeah, you use Kit, but like, that's a creator network? I thought that's just like ConverterKit, right? So it's just like a software that you could like track the lead magnet, I guess. Like, how do you think about, what is a creator network again?
So Kit, which used to be called ConvertKit and now is just sleeker and Kit.
Yeah.
The way it works is they handle pretty much your entire email newsletter, the landing pages, your subscribers, and all of that. But they have this feature where you can refer other creators that ideally you're doing are in your space specifically. So that when someone clicks to subscribe to you, they'll see a list of other creators and they'll be able to pop up and say, hey, do you want to follow these other newsletters as well? And then people can either reject or they could accept that.
Oh, okay. So do you have to bundle it yourself, or they just bundle it for you?
They bundle it for you.
What if it's literally 5 of your competitors? Like, yeah.
So that's a key concept. I think really not only with posting thought leadership content, but really just in general, this is something that I feel like I grew a lot from. My initial mentality used to be it's me or them. That was with my accounting firm. I didn't want to share my secret sauce for how I did the books or found new prospects. I was very nervous that there was only a sliver of the pie available. And
Right.
if they weren't going with me, they would go with someone else. Specifically with thought leadership content, it is definitely not a winner takes all mentality that you should be having, because odds are if someone is following you, they're going to want to follow a few other creators. There's just no benefit in following only one person. And through my experience in connecting with other creators, seeing what works really well with them, getting ideas of how they set up their funnels and everything, that's easily been one of the most rewarding parts of my just journey as a creator. And I've even extended that now to working with accounting firms. I have a community of firm owners that we always trade secrets with. We're meeting later today, even for our mastermind. So I would really urge anyone who's thinking, these people are my competitors, really look at it the exact opposite. You have so much more to gain by connecting with people who are doing what you're doing, rather than what potential loss in market share could result by collaborating with them.
I think I would put it with like a grain of salt. So like, because obviously there are industries like I feel like accounting is like, oh, okay, the market's like huge. But if you're like in like a really niche category of things, I kind of feel like it's not even you don't play nice. It's like the industry is more gated, or like people are fighting over high ticket items that can like actually results in like I was in millions of dollars, but like let's say 500K of sales, right? So like or like some sort of like big ticket sales. It's not even like I feel like I think there's a lot of industry that could be like viewed as like less um it's just like smaller in general. And then I wouldn't say like as a creator, you will get like so the email newsletter stuff that's like I don't know, like I totally hear you. If you go on any platform, there's like 400 people that you could follow. Obviously, that's like, you know, very normal to follow like 600 people. But in the end of the day, like when you're actually making a sale, I think that's like, you know, it's a weird space, let's be real. So like and I wonder because like honestly like I'm not saying this for myself, but just for my observation for like from the emerging manager community, because people are raising money from LPs and then the LP may only invest in 3 funds this year, and then like it's either your fund or this guy's fund. Like so it is like I guess I guess there's like a lot more competition in like a certain space than, you know, I could use your accounting service and his accounting service at the same time. Or like following your content. Like I mean everybody follow everyone's content. So I think like maybe there's like slightly like differentiation in like the category that you're in. But I wonder, so like okay, so I want to maybe highlight some of the audience questions. So the first person said hi, and then I think the level of your content should depends on the level of your offer at the moment. I would. Do you agree?
I would agree. Again, my philosophy is when you're very early to sharing content, you may not even have an offer. And if you do have an offer, it may be very difficult to get that offer in front of the right person. So I am a little bit biased. I don't think it's the only way to actually do it and that it's black and white, but I am a believer that initially you should be a little bit more broad to just build up that megaphone. And then you should be going in deep based off of your offer to who exactly is in your niche.
What about like, okay, so this, oh, okay. Would you share your thoughts on LinkedIn posting on your own site, i.e. owning your content?
I see no reason that it has to be one or the other. You could easily purpose both. And this was actually a concept I wanted to bring up from an earlier comment you had, Grace. To me, the best thing you could do when you're sharing content is create, in essence, like a graphics library. Where when you create one piece of content, let's say an infographic, you can repurpose that infographic into a carousel, into a newsletter, into graphics that are going to be used in a YouTube video, in a course or a webinar that you're going to do. If you're just creating content once, you're really losing out on a lot of gains and efficiencies that you can have by using it multiple times.
But I feel like that's infographics only, right? So like, I mean, how do you Okay, so what are some infographics people can create if they're in a different niche?
Why don't we play a fun game? Name me a niche and we'll do this together.
Okay, let's just do the VC niche. So it's all like, okay,
Okay.
so what would you do with infographics?
So let's take a very junior level example of every VC stage of funding explained. Angel, pre-seed, seed, Series A. Each of those will have some sort of graphic set of icons to help people attach, okay, this is maybe even a picture of a seed you can do or something like that, an A for a Series A and all that. And it'll have an explanation of what exactly that means, how much you're typically raising at that stage, how much equity you're giving up, what your typical valuation is, and all that. Now you have an infographic. You'll create a post on LinkedIn. It'll be 3,000 characters or so. You post that along with the infographic. When you then do a newsletter, well, instead of you just having a 3,000 word newsletter and then an infographic on the bottom, it can say, today, I'm going to explain to you every level of funding and how it works. Starting with seed. You take that little snippet from your infographic and you show the seed round. Seed rounds typically are for really early stage companies. They're generally raising between 1 to 2 million max. And it's really just about proving that you have product market fit. Series A and so forth. When you then create a video, it's the same thing. You're talking about something. The graphic appears on the stage. So those graphics that you created in your library should be very easy to reuse.
I wonder, so like, does this actually like, so for example, I see some people do that on YouTube, but I think it's still like very hard to get like the most major amount of audience from the like even the biggest creators, they have like, let's call it like 300K or something, but it's not like, in the finance niche there's Graham Stephan who has like, I don't know, 9 million followers or something. So like, how do you think about, because I think you're already on that level but on LinkedIn, right? So like, it's kind of like in the 100K like and plus category of people, what are some stuff that like, I know that you mentioned about like basically introducing the easier or like earlier stage concept, but is there anything that like could help you quote unquote go viral? Just because I think like in the specific tech niche, let's say right now AI is very viral, but I think there's a lot in between stuff, right? So it's like kind of like tech viral, or like, the tech community knows, let's say you're data science and like you may know XYZ. But on the other hand, like what are some stuff that you could do to like make your content like heard, like going viral? Because I think your stuff are like viral. Like you have like thousands of people like some stuff like immediately.
So before I answer that, I just want to give a caution to a mistake that I made for a pretty long time. And that is that going viral in and of itself is pretty much meaningless. Now, some platforms will reward you for that virality. For example, YouTube will pay you AdSense, which, okay, now you're making some money, but it's so little, and I don't really think it's a good trade-off. To me, the much more important question to ask is, how do you really monetize this? How do you provide so much value that people open their wallet and say, please take my money, I love what you're actually doing? And there are so many creators that I've met who have like in the low thousands of followers and subscribers who are making millions of dollars a year. So I'll answer the question, but I really don't want to give the wrong impression to the audience over here. Going viral is really nothing special. In my opinion, it's a bit of an ego boost, but the real thing you should be instead targeting is like building a business, making actual money, something sustainable that you can do. I think in terms of going viral, there are a lot of different aspects. And again, each platform is going to be pretty different. I think there's a trade-off and inverse relationship between going viral and making money at the highest level possible per viewer or per subscriber. Generally, when you go viral, it's a very broad topic. It has a lot of excitement about it, but then the saying, the niches and the niches, the riches are in the niches, I think really holds true. And I haven't really seen people go viral and also make like a crazy amount of money per subscriber on it. To go viral, I would think you need to have somewhat of a beginner level piece of content. It needs to be a very broad audience. And I think the production quality needs to be really high. If we're talking about YouTube specifically, there are all these things in terms of how you package it, the thumbnail, the actual title, the what other videos are out there in a similar topic? What are you doing that's unique and so forth? My personal style is investing very heavily in the actual quality of the graphics, which has been a huge contributor to some of the viral posts that I've had.
Love that. Okay, so quickly addressing the audience question, and then we'll showcase your tech product. Okay, so would you share your thoughts on LinkedIn posting versus your own site owning your content?
My thought is that you should be doing both.
Okay, so this one, we love infographics in the food industry and car sales. Okay, great, thank you. Hello, do you have a membership program in place? You should
I
create the
don't.
membership immediately, right after this call.
Well, I do have a community, and you're welcome to join that community as well. And people oftentimes privately message me, and I'm able to offer them support through there.
Love. Okay. Hi, Duty. Okay, so
Yeah, Duty is one of my most stark followers. Hey, Duty, great to see you here.
Okay, so why don't you showcase us like other stuff that you're building? For example, your tech product.
Sure.
You
Well,
can
why don't I
share.
go ahead and
You can also share.
yeah, I'll do that. Okay, let me go ahead and do that over here.
By the way, if you need accounting service, you should hit him up after this, especially if you
Thanks,
live
Grace.
in New York City.
Cool. So here's our tool over here. It's called Model Wiz. And what we in essence do is we allow you to create financial models and dashboards with just one click. So it's an Excel add-in over here. I'm just going to click this button, and I'm just going to now click this button, create a financial model. And what I did before the screen when I signed up is I just connected to my QuickBooks Online account. So a lot of SMBs, early stage businesses, they primarily use QuickBooks Online. Some others use Xero. As you get more upmarket, you could be using like a NetSuite or Sage or something else like that. The challenge with a lot of these platforms is you get the information as a specific export, and it's just like a raw export. It's a profit and loss, it's data overwhelm, it's a bunch of lines, and you don't actually get those insights. Similarly, the majority of insights oftentimes come from creating a forecast, setting those projections, and being able to manage that forecast on an ongoing basis. So what our tool is doing is it's taking all of my QuickBooks Online data, it's reshaping all of that information into these beautiful templates that we have over here, and it's creating a financial model that honestly used to take me like 20 hours back in my analyst days to be able to create. And now, as you saw, what was that? Maybe like less than 60 seconds. So we'll look at like what I instantly get access to. So now I have a dashboard that will allow me to understand what happened in my business, my most important KPIs compared to a prior period. Now I could change this also to prior year by just changing that as such. And this is also pretty cool. We have this pitch deck tab where you can now understand what your business looks like on a rolled up basis for your profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flows. And you see that we show it on an annual and quarterly basis as well. So that all really stems from this drivers tab where we pull in all of the info, we reshape it, like I was saying, and then we put in just default projections as a 6-month average for your P&L and just the prior month for your actual balance sheet. But here's where it's really cool. So if I just change this, let's say to $100,000, and I want to say, okay, I want to have a projection where my sales in April will be $100,000. I can now go to my profit and loss and see instantly in April that I have a $100,000 projection over here for sales. So it's really easy to update, not only with your profit and loss, but let's say I wanted to showcase cash flows, which is in many ways even more important. I can just say, all right, I'm doing a fundraise, so let me just add in $1 million here. And if I go to now my statement of cash flows, you can see that the information is populated right over here. So with startups, with accounting firm owners, they're looking to provide advisory services. This creates that environment for you really with just one click, and it's very easy to just update and maintain from there. But one of my favorite features that we just released, so a lot of times when you're preparing a forecast, you won't want to just take that information and send it over to an investor or a client. You'll want to put it in some sort of actual snapshot or pitch deck. So I could just select this range over here. I hit this little snapshot button and copy this. And now I have this beautiful image that I could just put in an email or whatever I need. And you could also even export it to PDF. So when I hit this export to PDF button, notice how over here, I have all this information being posted. So it makes it really easy to be interchangeable. But this is something that may only be for the finance and accounting users. See, one of the biggest challenges with creating a financial model is what's known as rolling forward that data. So you can see that we have all these accounts. And when there's a new account that's added, when you're then reconciling your information, it becomes a huge pain to identify that new account and to surgically add that information so that you don't overwrite anything in your model. So watch what happens as I just delete these 3 rows. Notice how we detected that there is an error here, but that's going to be okay. I'm just going to hit this roll forward button. And when I now hit roll forward, what we're doing is we're going back to your QuickBooks Online account. We're analyzing all of your data. We're detecting where are the new accounts that were added. You're going to see in just a second. See how this over here is adding a new line. It's not overwriting anything. It's pulling in all that information accordingly. So this used to take me a good 2 hours a month for each of our 30 plus clients that we work with. Now, really just in a matter of seconds, all that data will update.
So is this so did you build this on ChatGPT or what's a whole concept like? Is this just Excel sheet that you use, or what is I'm sorry, I feel like my question is so stupid. It's a software obviously, but is this it's an add-on, like an API?
It's really a hybrid of both. That's what the beauty is. See, Excel to me is the #1 business tool out there. Everyone recognizes an Excel file.
Yeah.
Every investor wants to get an Excel file with their forecast. So you see that we just rolled forward from March to April as such. So at the same time though, sorry, say it again.
So sorry. Do you have a code for this project or for this product, or is this purely a model?
Well, we have our own technology. So Excel is really great, but at the same time, pulling in information from the web, transforming information, you can do that if you know the details. I'm an Excel MVP, so a lot of this stuff I know how to do myself. What's really great is that we developed our own software that does all this work for you. So it'll save you time even if you're writing the code actually yourself. So it's really the best of both worlds, where it'll connect to your actual QuickBooks Online data, but also allow you to leverage Excel. And you could stay in Excel and people won't even realize that you used a tool to generate this. There's one more thing I actually want to show you, and that is over here, this financial health dashboard. So a lot of times, the very first thing I want to do when I'll start working with a client, I want to analyze the health of their business. And I want to be able to give them instant insights as to whether their business is in good shape and what are the guardrails that they need to really look forward to. So with this financial health dashboard, given the fact that I already have all of my data connected directly from QuickBooks, it's going to bring in this dashboard. It's again going to shape all of the information directly to this business. And check it out. I instantly now have indicators of every important metric. My return on equity, is it at a critical state? Is it in a good state? What changes do I need to make? And again, I could just easily share this with an investor or a client. So that's pretty much our tool. We give a free 14-day trial if anyone wants to go ahead and try this out. And yeah, we only really released this to the public with this whole comprehensive build in the last 8 weeks or so. So really excited to get more users.
Love. Okay. Hi, AKM. Hi, LinkedIn user. Okay. Yeah. So more people pop up. Okay. So I wanna, since I know that we are about to come to the end with our time, why don't we do a quick fire run? Okay.
Let's do it.
What's your favorite book?
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Love. Okay, the OG. Who made the biggest impact in your career?
In my entire career, I'll say on my creator journey, and again, that's going to be giving respects to Nicholas Boucher, who really taught me a lot of what I know.
You should tag him at this point. Who would you invite to your dinner party?
Who would I invite to my dinner party? A really big fan of the CEO of Kit, Nathan Barry. I'm actually going to his conference in Craft and Commerce.
I just saw him last week. Last week. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, sorry, bragged. Anyway, so at another conference actually. So yeah, so who okay, where can we find you outside of work?
Where can you find my work? Oh,
Where
outside
can
of
you
work.
find, yeah, outside of
Uh,
work.
I love exercising. So right now, in my New York City apartment, I could do that all in the actual building, but soon we'll be moving, so you may find me at the gym. I love cooking as well, so you can find me in the kitchen. And sometimes I like to also go for walks in nature.
Love. Okay, so since we have 1 minute, what are something that you feel like the audience don't know about you?
I am an avid sushi. I don't know if I would call it a sushi chef or a sensei or what, but I love
Dude,
making
isn't
sushi. I love eating
it?
sushi. So,
I so like, okay, I'm very fascinated by the sushi industry because obviously there's like a documentary of how people prep the meat and then how they do that. But that's such a interesting industry just because I literally thought like, yeah, this is like one of the dish that you could totally make it at home, I guess. I don't know. But
mhm.
okay, so amazing. Wow, Josh, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Where can the audience find you if they want more information about the products as well as like your services and everything?
So for our products, you could check us out at modelwiz.com. Wiz is WIZ.
Mhm.
If you want to reach me, you can find me at every social channel, Your CFO Guy, right over here. You could also shoot me an email at josh@yourcfoguy.com. So far, I've been pretty good at responding to each and every subscriber. It may take me a few
Wow,
days, so I'd love to hear from you.
amazing. Well, thank you so much. Okay, let me quickly end stream.